The book is Can You Really Think and Grow Rich? An unbelievable inspirational book. And the man we have with us in studio right now, also an inspiration. Not only did he play 11 wonderful seasons in the NFL, he won a Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears. Pretty good acting career as well, and he represented his country in the Olympics. Willie Gault joining us right now in studio. Willie, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So let's begin here with your career, where you started. As a player, a fantastic athlete in high school. Was there a point in high school, I'm just curious, where you said to yourself, I can make a living playing in the NFL? Or was that more later in life when you were in college?
Well, it probably started my second year, which was my junior year. My first touchdown was a kickoff return, the first time I touched the ball. So everyone was excited about it, and of course I was excited also. But that led me to believe that I could play with anyone. Mm-hmm. And I saw, of course, I was a fan of the National Football League. Tony Dorsett was one of my big heroes, and of course, I love baseball, too, because Hank Aaron played for the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. Right. So I thought very early that I had a chance to play at a higher level than just high school.
Were you born just really fast? Is that something that you just had growing up, or is that something you had to work on over the years? Because, you know, like I said, you were known as, and you probably still are very fast. Right. You're pretty fit still, but you were always known as the fastest or one of the fastest players to ever play in the NFL.
You know, it's something about speed. Speed is something you're somewhat born with. I mean, you have to hone it and actually work on your talent to get better. But when I was little, I was 6 years old, in first grade. I could run faster than all the guys in the second and third grade. So I was the fastest kid 2 grades ahead of me. And I had a situation where I caught the bus to go home. So the bus driver would let me off maybe 2 blocks from my house, and I would race the bus to my house. And the kids would be on the side, go, Willie, go. And so then I knew I was pretty fast, and all the kids liked it, and they cheered for me. It was pretty rewarding for me.
What's so interesting, though, about your career is because there's a lot of former professional athletes that just sit with their money, they're retired, they hang out on the beach every day, and they don't do much else with their lives. Some, not all. Right. Your situation is completely the opposite. You've had a successful acting career. You teach, young kids, and you've done so many other things with your life since retiring from the NFL. Why?
Well, I just think for me, too much is given, much is required. I only have so many years on this earth as I know it. And so I want to be able to have my dot or my dash mean something. And I really like people. I majored in business in college, even though when I got out, a lot of stuff you learn in college, you can't really apply. You don't really apply it, but you learn from people. Like I learned from my mentor, a guy named Ramy, who wrote the book. He taught me a lot about business and how to look at contracts and what EBITDA was. And so you have to also be able to meet people that will help you along the way, because no one knows everything. Yeah, I try to surround myself with people that are smarter than me, and that's how I try to do it. And I know I'm not that smart, but I'm able to do certain things.
I would disagree with you on that, but when you were talking about this book, Can You Really Think and Grow Rich? Let's talk about your relationship with Ramy. Where did it begin? Can you recall the first time you met this man, and what was your first impression?
Of course, it was pretty auspicious. We met at a charity event, I think it was in 2003 or 4. In Cabo. It was a charity event for battered women to raise money to help them, to find housing and feed their kids. And I was a host, and Ramy was there as a guest, and I was auctioning off different things, items like bathing suits girls were wearing. And so when I couldn't find someone to buy the bathing suit, then I would just say, okay, Ramy, you got it, because he had bought several. So that was basically the start of our relationship. And then at that event, we talked. And I asked him what he did, and he said, I do mergers and acquisition. I said, wow, that's interesting. I'd like to do that, because I know from a business standpoint, that's basically what it is. So he said, okay, here's my number. Call me. I'm sure he didn't think I was going to call him, but I called him the next day. He gave me his address. I went to his house, and the first thing he did was, here's a stack of paper. Go make some copies for me. I go, wait a minute, this is not, go make copies. It's okay, now you take a copy and read it. So it was buying Aloha Airlines, and it was Piccadilly Restaurants, and Air Aviation. So those are the first deals that I worked with him on, and I learned so much. I mean, we spent months in bankruptcy court buying these deals, and I learned a lot just by listening. Because sometimes a lot of people talk a lot as opposed to listening. I learned more by listening than talking, and so that was my relationship with Ramy. It started there, and It's just been one that's been full of ups and downs, but a lot of excitement, a lot of learning curves, and also, putting the book, Can You Think and Really Go Rich, to work. Because he is a living
Let's
example.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Can you give me, Willie, some specific examples from this book that you've taken away and you've implemented in your life that you will use for the rest of your life?
Well, this guy, Ramy, who a lot of people don't know, but I hold him at high regard because this guy read a book, Think and Grow Rich, at 12 years old. Decided to leave home. Walking,
Right.
homeless, living in cars, no food, nothing. But think about it, a 12-year-old to do that, that's really incredible for me. And I don't know if there's anything that's more challenging than that, a kid to leave everything he knows and go into a world that he has no help, no family, and nothing. And to be able to do it and to succeed the way he did, it's nothing short of heroic and also impossible. It's an impossible task, but he showed you you could do it by putting your mind to something. And I think it's like an athlete. An athlete, the great athletes, the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods, those guys, LeBron James of the world, they had a goal. They look at, and they're very focused. They focus on what they want to accomplish, and they go do it. Same principles in this book that Ramy wrote. Same principle. You focus on something, you go and do it. Don't let anything stop you. If you know that's what you want, you go after it, and that's it.
Now, Willie, you accomplished quite a lot before you met Ramy, so there might be some people out there that say, well, look at me. I've done this, this, and this. I was a former professional athlete, football player. I'm very successful. Why do I need to read Ramy's book? But I think you're a perfect example of why, right? Because can you tell me, you knew a lot beforehand. You're a very successful person before you read this book, but
Right.
You'll be the first one to admit
Right.
you needed to read this book because it brought you further. Can you explain that a little?
Absolutely. Look, we all achieve certain things in our life, but we always want to achieve something else, something different. Look, just because Tiger Woods is the best golfer in the history doesn't mean he have something else he wanted to achieve. So just because Michael Jordan was the best basketball player, he's actually doing other things now in business. And so this book actually gives you the confidence and also gives you techniques on how to do it. And I think it's important because, again, we don't know everything. Everybody, I try to surround myself with people who are smarter. And this book and Ramy and other people like that, they're smarter in certain areas. I'm smart in certain areas, but they're smart in the area that I want to go into. And that's why you read a book like this or be around a person like that to learn and let your ego stay at the door. Now, I think a lot of problems are people who are successful in one area, their egos are so big they can't accept that someone else has something or knows something that's different. I think those are the challenges for people who are successful in one thing or have been successful before. When you've been successful in one thing and you say, okay, I've done it, then you don't want to listen to someone else. But when you've been successful and lost it and then do it again and then lost and do it again, then that's a different story because you have to have help and you understand it. And that's what Ramy did.
Willie, I have to ask you this. There are so many former professional athletes out there. Well, it doesn't matter if you're a former professional athlete, whoever you are.
Right.
But there are a lot of people out there that are very successful. They make a lot of money. And you've heard the horror stories of a lot of these athletes that go bankrupt.
Right.
They file for bankruptcy. They don't know what to do with their money. So this book isn't just about can you really think and grow rich. It's also about how do you remain rich and how do you make more money. Can you just speak to that? Because there are so many other athletes
Right.
out there that have just, for lack of a better term, thrown it all away.
Well, I think athletes, celebrities, or people of that nature, think about it. And I think this is where my humbleness comes in, and this is where my sympathy for them, because you're taking a guy or a girl or whomever that was in a situation where they had nothing. Ramy had nothing. Okay, so it's hard. It's hard to really say, okay, you got to compare apples to apples. But they had nothing. They grow up and then they get something, and they don't know what to do with it. So this book can help you figure out what to do with it, not just spend everything. Because think about it. Some of these guys have entourage, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people. They buy a house for their mother, cars for their mother and father. They loan their family money. They do bad investments because they don't know. Think about it. An investor, all he does is invest money, so he knows the pitfalls. A guy out of college who didn't have anything, who didn't have 2 nickels to rub, he has no idea about what stock to buy. You're relying on someone else who is basically relying on him to give them money for themselves.
Sure.
So it's an ulterior motive there that's selfish for them. So we have to understand that's the purpose and that's the reason why it happens. And what's the solution? I don't know, because it's so tough. Because think about it. Why would a guy out of college that doesn't know you or me listen to me? They're going to listen to their buddies. And the buddies don't know. but they're going to listen to their buddies. So that's the trap they fall into. They don't listen or pursue the right people to figure out what's the right thing to do with their money. Now, when I play, we didn't make as much money. These guys are making $6, 10, 50, $20 million a year. I mean, they'll make one more in 2-3 games than I make my entire career.
Incredible.
So it's a little bit different now. And so for a guy to lose money in this day and time, they have to really, really be bad. I mean, really be bad. I mean, for someone to lose $100 million, it's just, it's hard to fathom. But $100 million, let's break it down. $100 million tax after taxes, $50 million. After you give your agent 10%, after you give your manager, if you have it, 20%, then you buy, you know, cars. And so you can see how it goes pretty fast if you're not knowing what you're doing. So that's what we have to look at. So there's sympathy for me, for them, those people, and because I understand what they've gone through, and they just didn't have the right people around them to say, no, don't do that. You know, that's a bad investment. So,
anything else you want me to add?
Yeah. Okay. I think that you've known them for a long time, and you've seen his ups and downs, and you've seen them apply these principles.
Yep.
You know, tell me about his
Gotcha.
rise. How low was he, and how far did he get?
Sure.
And what principles did?
How long
see?
have you known each other, by the way?
almost 20 years.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
Okay.
A little while.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so Willie, you've known Ramy for somewhere around 20 years. That's a very, very long time. You've seen the ups and downs that Ramy has gone through in his life, but you've also seen the principles that he's applied in this book in his own life to make it to where he is today. Can you talk a little bit about that, the friendship you've had with him around 2 decades, the ups and downs, and how he's applied those same principles that he's trying to share with everybody else in this book?
Right, yeah. The one thing I really, really respect about Ramy is that he never gives up. I mean, he never quits. He doesn't mind asking for anything that he needs and wants. That's qualities that very few people have. When I first met Ramy, he was somewhat on top. I mean, so he built a business. He bought 2 airlines and a restaurant chain of 123 restaurants and In Conscious Enlightenment, which was, you know, religious books and yoga studios. And we were living large. I mean, he was on the top. And then he lost it all. And he went through a period where he really died. And I was there at the hospital. I mean, he flatlined and he died. And when he came through, he really didn't know where he was or what had happened. And then he was homeless again. I mean, think about it. He was homeless at 12 to 13 or 14. Then he built up relationship, built a business through just seeing people on the street and saying, wow, those people are doing keys. Let me open up a key shop. Oh, wow, I see these vans. We got to sell these vans. So he created disruptive industries before Uber, you know what I'm saying? So he was doing the things that people needed to do. Then he saw a show called The Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach, and he saw the richest man in the world. And he said to himself, I'm going to work with that guy. Think about it. You're 12 years old. You went somewhere. You got some money, and then you saw a show with the richest man in the world that everybody wants to work with. And you said to yourself, I'm going to work with that guy. He sells everything to pursue this guy. Okay. When he finally gets to him, the guy says, get out of here. I don't know who you are. And he doesn't give up. I mean, a normal person would say, okay, I guess I didn't do it. But he figured out a way to get in touch with the guy who is his lead handler who goes ahead. And so he befriended him, you know, paid him, did what he had to do. And so he would tell Ramy where they're going to be next. So Ramy would go there, tell the hotel that Ramy, he is the lead person to come to make sure the room is okay. So he'd get the key to the room, and he'd be in the room when they got there. I mean, the guts of this guy, the nerve, that shows you that you can do anything you want if you really apply it. And so he did that, and then, of course, he wound up working with Anand Khashoggi, who was the richest man in the world at the time, and they went around the world doing business deals and bought this big jet, and and then 9/11 hit, and they lost it all, and he became, again, broke, and broke. When I say broke, he didn't have millions of dollars. So, and then he went through this period where he did lose it all, died, came back alive, and in that, I think it made him rejuvenate his energy, because as he was in this house where they send people when they're almost committed suicide or whatever, he was there and he wanted a pencil and paper. And they usually don't do that, but they gave him pencil and paper. And he wrote down all these ideas that he wanted to pursue
While in the hospital.
while in the hospital. And once he got out, I couldn't read it. I mean, only he could read it. It was so scribbled. I don't know how anyone could read it. But he was able to read it and then apply those. And the one that he did, the business he just sold for $200 million, and then the other business he's doing now, and he bought his plane back, bigger and better. And so he's back again. And so it shows you that no matter how low you are or how someone kicks you, you can always get up if you really apply the principles and understand how to do it and never give up and never accept no as an answer, because you don't have to. There's never a no unless you accept it. You are in control of your own destiny.
So, Willie, as you're reading this book, as you're going through it, I would imagine there are definitely portions in this book where you say to yourself, well, wait a second, I did that at this point in my life. I did at that point in my life. Is that fair to say? And can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are principles. Anyone who's really been really successful has used some of these principles before, whether or not they know it. But to dig in and understand it totally is a different ball game. The one that stands out the most for me is that people, and I'll paraphrase it, people are more fearful of of failing than succeeding, basically. I mean, think about it. When you say, I want to start a new business, boy, should I do it? I don't know if I have enough money, or I'm going to lose my shirt, or maybe someone's not going to buy it. So they're fearful of failing, not succeeding. And so once you realize that I can succeed if I apply the principles right, if I do the right things, if I go out and I work hard, I meet the right people, I do the things that are necessary. Look, Ramy's up, he probably get 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night sometimes, maybe 4 at the most. So he's up when people are sleeping and thinking and doing things. And I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it through the fact that one quick story, which is great, it's a funny story. We were flying back from Alaska one time. And Ramy had taken these sleepy pills because, he had to go to sleep. So he was so tired because he hadn't slept in maybe 3 days. So the pills didn't kick in until about maybe 30 minutes before we landed. So we landed, and I wake Ramy. Ramy, we're here. And he's so asleep that he drags his bag down from the top of the airline, hit everyone, and we're going through the airline, and he's just wobbling through. And then he gets to the car, and he goes, where are the keys? I go, I haven't. I'm driving. You're not driving. So it was so funny, though. You had to have been there. We laughed so hard. We've had many of those things where we laugh a lot. So, because I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep standing up, and Ramy doesn't sleep much. So we go to a movie one time, and the movie starts. And I dozed off a little because I was a little tired. And then we come out, and Ramy said, why did you not watch the movie? Why'd you sleep? I go, I was awake. He goes, okay, what was the first scene? I go, I don't know. So we died laughing about that. It was really funny.
So, Willie, you saw firsthand where you talked about how he basically flatlined. You saw him lose everything. You saw a man lose everything. And then 5 years later, he has it all back and more. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Well, I mean, that's really amazing, first of all, and encouraging. And I was there. I was there at the hospital with him every day. I'd go work out in the morning and come after I finished working around noon and stay till 4 or 5, and then go eat dinner and come back till 9. And saw him there. And, I felt really sorry for him because, he was just there helpless. He didn't know. He was unconscious. He flatlined a couple of times. The nurses didn't know. And I asked them, how is it? And they said, we don't know. It's touch and go. It's day by day. So I was really concerned. But then that day after, I think it was like the 4th or 5th day, they said, look, he's getting better. He's coming through. He's going to be okay. And then when he woke up, he said, oh, boy, wow, where am I? He didn't know where he was. So, but he got through that. And after that, of course, he was homeless again and, just down in the dumps somewhat. Physically, not mentally, because mentally he was sharp. I mean, again, he wrote down all these ideas. These ideas came to him probably when he was in his coma. I think it was induced in a coma. When he was in a coma, I'm sure his brain cells was just wired and just moving fast. So he had all these incredible ideas. And within 5 years, he was able to implement those ideas and turn it into a multi-$100 million or more dollar business, which he sold. And then now he's doing a couple other and got his plane back, which is bigger and better than the one he had. And, it's such an inspiration, such an inspirational story to me and everyone else. And I've done a lot in my life. I know I have. But, this guy is a hero of mine. He don't know that. Hopefully you don't hear that. But what he's done is really incredible, and I really respect it a great deal. So I have nothing but respect for him for what he's accomplished and how he's done it. And the say no attitude, to never give up attitude, is something that's like a champion. It's like a Muhammad Ali, like a Tiger Woods, it's like a Michael Jordan. They're all the same. You know, it's like never give up. You always want to win. He wants to win no matter what it costs. He's going to make sure it happens. If he has to get up at 4, 3, he's going to do it. If he has to stay up to 12, he'll be sleepy, but he's going to do it. Or 1. But so that's the attitude that you have to win, and that's what his attitude is, and that's what he teaches in this book. Can you really think and grow rich? That's what it is. He really can. He really did. He really does.